Hi, so we all know that Lightroom is a fantastic tool to use for editing your photos. Lots of really simple to use and high quality editing tools means we can change exposure super easily, contrast, all of that sort of thing, a touch of a slider. But what a lot of people fall down is kind of understanding the process of how to set Lightroom up and how to work with it most successfully. So here are 3 tips that I think you should know if you're going to use Lightroom that you should follow, and it'll just make your life a lot simpler. My number 1 tip is that you should, if you're going to use Lightroom, I think the easiest way and the most successful way to do it is to commit to it fully and use it as your number 1 editing and cataloging piece of software for your photos. It is so good and so powerful at cataloging and keywording and star rating and editing that there's not really any reason to keep a fancy folder structure outside Lightroom. So bring all your photos into it, and then when you want to find a photo, use Lightroom. If you want to delete a photo, delete it out of Lightroom. If you want to send a photo to someone, export it out of Lightroom. Don't go into your separate folders on your hard drive. Move photos around there, because once you've added photos into Lightroom, Lightroom will get confused and will lose the reference to the photo. So my number 1 tip for Lightroom is use it as your number 1 editing piece of software and commit to it and make it your thing that you use always for editing your photos, finding your photos, sending your photos, and all of the things that you ever do with your photos. You can edit, you can open things in other applications like Photoshop out of Lightroom. So just, if you're going to use Lightroom, go for it. It's kind of tricky to work with it as sort of a side project that you use sometimes, but also have photos outside of it. That's my first tip. The second tip is make sure you make the most of the things like the star rating and keywords. So here we can see, let's find a photo here. Okay, ballerina, let's hope I've keyworded it. Yeah. So we have some keywords here. Just add a few keywords to every photo when you import it. This means if I want to find all my dance photos, I can easily do a search in Lightroom and find my dance photos. In the library module, Command F, and then keyword boxing I've got here, but if we put dance, yeah, we bring up that dance photo. So yeah, super simple, super easy. If you don't keyword things and don't star rate things, you are not going to be able to find your photos quickly and easily in Lightroom. The advantage of adding keywords and the advantage of adding star ratings, if you can kind of forget about a folder structure. You can just let Lightroom import your photos, ingest them into Lightroom, and then Lightroom you won't have to have separate folders for dance photos from 2021, all this sort of stuff. You can just, whenever you want to find your holiday photos from Barbados in 2017 and your best ones, you just search for Barbados holiday photos 2017 and they all come up, and you see those wonderful pictures of you sunbathing on the beach and looking fantastic. So my second tip is to use keywording and star rating properly. Well, not even all that properly, just 3 or 4 keywords per photo to help you find them in the past, and you'll find that once you do that, you can quickly and easily find all your photos. And the third tip really is to just don't scare to use these sliders and develop module. Nothing that you do, actually the third tip is more around, don't be scared about that, because nothing you do in Lightroom destroys your photo. All these changes here that I make, I'm quite comfortable to totally change the look of this picture, whatever, and ruin it completely, because I know that even though I close Lightroom and reopen it, I can go back to where I was. Let's hope I can do that relatively quickly. Yeah, so and yeah, so this is all this picture here is a preview of the raw file. The raw file is living on my hard drive, not getting changed by Lightroom. Lightroom's making another little database file which contains the changes. I then export this JPEG out of Lightroom. The raw file, like an old film negative, never gets changed. The JPEG is kind of a print. I can make multiple copies of this photo within Lightroom, make multiple versions of it, but the raw file stays the same. So get your head around the fact that basically Lightroom is a database connecting the Lightroom application to your photos on your hard drive. Commit to it fully. Make the most of the keywording and star ratings to make sure that you use the cataloging feature to its full potential. That's really powerful and often overlooked, I think, by people. And then don't forget that you can make whatever changes you want to any photo. It's not going to destroy anything on your raw file. You don't have to save anything. The changes are just there when you reopen it, and you can make multiple copies because you can make multiple versions of a raw file because you're not changing the raw file. You're just applying edits, seeing it in a preview in Lightroom, and then you're exporting the JPEG from Lightroom. And that is how to work with Lightroom.